Welcome in to Vanny on SI. I'm Joey Dwyer. He's Graham Bacco. He's Dylan Tovis. We're here at FirstBank Stadium for the final time this season. In all likelihood, we've got a beautiful backdrop, guys. And that was a heck of a Vanderbilt football game. One of the best that I think Diego Pavia played in this place. Trey Richardson said it was the best Pavia played here, and I think it's hard to argue with him there. He set the all-time passing record in a game among Vanderbilt quarterbacks. He leaves with a standing ovation, a curtain call. A perfect night for Diego Pavia, and I think that's the place to start. I followed him around basically from before the Star Walk until the end of the game, kind of observed his process and what pregame looked like, and the thing that stood out to me was the guy was just so loose pregame. It looked like they didn't have a game. It looked like he was about to go to practice, and just thinking, man, is that how this always is? It seems like it, Grant. That was an exceptional performance from Diego Pavia, and I think it's fitting, like the guy who's always made the plays when the lights are the brightest does it on the night where he's honored as a senior.
Yeah, I mean, all you can say is wow, right? I mean, what a performance. 484 passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns. I believe he also had a rushing touchdown as well, along with 50 rushing yards. I mean, what a masterclass of a performance Pavia had. I think it is absolutely the best game that he's played, considering he set a new school record for passing yards in the game. And I mean, man, he was just doing everything, throwing darts, running the ball. I mean, just cutting and dicing up Kentucky's defense all night. And, you know, it was a Heisman-like performance. I mean, he's had a couple of those this year already, and he adds another one today with his masterclass, like I said. And so, you know, we'll see what the Heisman are. You know, the Heisman odds are, you know, whenever they come out tomorrow on Monday. But man, what a game, and what a way to go out on your senior day. I mean, it was just perfect. It was just perfectly fitting, I thought. I mean, the best game that he's played, I think, on his last home game in FirstBank Stadium. I mean, you just can't say enough about him.
Yeah, and he's grown so much as a player, and I think, you know, the style of play that he's brought is naturally a highly volatile style of play, and that's why last year, even when he was really good, there was also always this, you know, talk about how maybe he'll turn the ball over a lot, and he's, you know, a bit of a more reckless player. But guys, he's pretty much erased most of that from his game, and so it's really, you're only seeing, for the most part, the positives of it. And yes, he had the one interception today that was off a receiver's hands. And
it was also a 30-point game.
And it was also a drive that Clark Lee wanted to take him out for, which was a great little anecdote that Clark shared that was clipped by the TV, but basically said Clark was like, we're pulling you, and Diego was like, please, and he was like, Clark, after 3, you know, back and forths of that, Clark felt he owed it to him to send him out for one more drive. But it was a masterclass, like you guys have said, and I think at the very least he just secured himself with that a trip to New York as a top 4 Heisman finalist. I know he was, I think, 5th in the polls behind Julian Say and Fernando Mendoza, Jeremiah Love and Marcel Reed, and he leaped. I just checked the odds a few minutes ago. He leaped Love and Reed with his performance today.
Okay, wow.
So now he's 3rd.
All right.
Mendoza's the favorite. He'll probably win it unless something crazy happens. But hey, if Pavia has another game like this against Tennessee, you never know. And you know, Clark continues to call him the best player in college football, and I think it's hard. I mean, I think it's hard to unequivocally refute that, even if you think, you know, Fernando Mendoza is a better player or someone else along those lines, guys. I mean, the impact that he's had on this team, and more importantly, this program. And I won't talk too much about it, but I think it's really important to note that the position Vanderbilt's in, the momentum Vanderbilt, not only as a football program, but as a university has right now, is because of Clark Lee's vision, and Clark Lee's vision only happens with Diego Pavia.
Yes.
And the place that they're set up in now with, you know, hypothetically, if Jared Curtis decides to come here, like
which
that
Diego
is
Pavia made it seem like he's very confident.
which is true as well. That only happens because of Pavia. And I'm scrolling through Twitter a few minutes ago, and I just see like these like "thank you to" tweets, and it just can't be overstated how much he has done for this program and this university, guys.
Yeah, and I think, you know, sort of to add on to that, like, when you think of the Heisman and sort of MVP type players, like Pavia is the MVP of this team and one of the MVPs of college football, I think, because, you know, you think about the other Heisman finalists potentially, right? Like Julian saying, like, Pavia has had more of an impact and provides more value, I think, to Vanderbilt's team than Julian Sayin does, because you have all these other playmakers around Ohio State, you know, with their receivers, with their talented defense, that, you know, Julian Sayin doesn't have to be a Heisman MVP type caliber for Ohio State to be undefeated. Meanwhile, Pavia with what he's done, if Pavia doesn't play like he's been playing this year, Vanderbilt probably is not 9-2. Like they're probably in a different position than what they are right now. So I think Pavia certainly has a case in that breath, in that like he provides far more value and impact than any other player in college football, I think.
Yeah, I look at it and you see Pavia in the end zone with the Heisman pose. You see his mom in the stands doing the Heisman pose. Guys, I think, and I wrote this, I think this is a crucial part of the story here. We talked all week about Jared Curtis. We talked about Clark Lee and the extension. I think Diego Pavia is reminding us that the present's pretty freaking good too.
Yeah.
And I think he quietly stated that without saying anything tonight. You're watching him play and you're thinking this is the golden era of Vanderbilt football. And we talked so much about the future this week. Diego Pavia still is the story, and I think he reminded everyone of that tonight. Dylan, we talked about this a little bit. I think us two might have been me and Graham. Those were three of the best throws that he's made at Vanderbilt. The 2 touchdowns to Trey Richardson, one of them the 71-yarder, the other one the one in the corner of the end zone, and then the Richie Hoskins throw down the seam was an exceptional throw too. It's not just that he racked up numbers. I thought he was incredibly sharp tonight. And the interception, I don't even factor that in. The game was completely out of hand at that point. I think he was just kind of slinging it around. I don't know that he throws the Richie Hoskins ball if it's not a 30-point game. Dylan, before we get off of Pavia, which I think he deserves all 7 minutes of what we've done thus far. Just an exceptional performance with ball placement, some really good decision making, and if you think Diego Pavia is an NFL player, I think your argument got a lot better tonight with some of the throws he made.
Yeah, it's exactly where I was going with it, Joey, because we've seen a lot about Pavia, and there's these players that maybe excel in college football. Your Stetson Bennett's of the world, and they excel at college football, and still, like, no one really projects them to succeed in the NFL because of their, traits, and in Pavia's case, his height and size, and maybe how his game is more built around his legs than his arm. But tonight he made, like you mentioned, Joey, several throws, and I tweeted this out, but several NFL throws. That fade in the end zone to Junior Sherrill, that was an NFL throw, He struggled a bit with deep ball accuracy. Those 2 deep balls to Trey Richardson, especially that first one in a tight window, those were perfectly placed NFL throws. And I think, going into this season, if I were an NFL scout, I would have been skeptical of Pavia too, but I think having watched him this season, I would not be surprised if a lot, and there have been scouts, guys, at most of these games that we've been at up in the press box, and I think it's hard to at least not turn your head and say, he has everything we could possibly want in a leader and in energy and in the run game and in the creativity and ability to, when a play breaks down, go out there and do something with it. He has all of that unequivocally, and the question is, does he have the arm to succeed in the NFL? And I think, his performance today, and frankly his performance this year, how much he's developed as a pocket passer, how much Clark Lee and Tim Beck, when last year it was a lot of, hey, we're going to put you in triple option and let you, make a play with your legs or make a play with your, again, that ability when the play breaks down. This year, you could see how much they trust him as just, it's 3rd and 12, let's drop back and throw a 17-yard post route over up the seam, like you guys said, and that I think goes a really long way for Pavia in his case. And again, we don't want to jump the gun, but it wouldn't shock me to see him land somewhere in the pros next year, guys.
Sure, guys. I guess we're gonna get off Pavia now. But before we get off the offense as a whole, Trey Richardson, my goodness, Dylan will have a story out tonight about Trey Richardson. I think he'll do a really good job with that story, guys. Man. We talk a lot about how Pavia's improved. Their offense is nowhere near as dynamic if they don't have Trey Richardson. You're writing a good piece of the story about his volunteering. I think another interesting piece is what we wrote earlier in the week when Graham and I were talking to him. He wanted 300 yards on the season on offense. He had 159 yards tonight. And
pretty crazy.
Again, Junior Sherrill, I looked at the stat sheet. I was like,
I did that too, and
I was like, holy, Junior Sherrill! Like, did they give him someone else's catches? But yeah, he quietly had a tremendous game. I think it might be his first 100-yard game.
I believe so.
At Vanderbilt.
I believe it is.
And again, you mentioned like a really nice touchdown catch. Their receivers are better, and it's never going to be a system in which receivers just rack up yards over and over again. But quietly, they did a whole lot on offense tonight without Eli Stowers catching the ball that much. Cole Spence had the nice catch late. Might be his last game at FirstBank Stadium. He's got 2 years of eligibility, but a big decision for him to make there. Obviously, Eli Stowers' last game. Part of the reason they sent that offense out so well on senior day was just because of the receivers they have, because of the weapons they have downfield. And guys, before I get off of this, MK Young had that incredible hurdle too.
Oh gosh, yeah.
they have more weapons than they had last year for sure, Graham.
Oh yeah, they absolutely do. They can attack you so many ways, whether it's a run game, whether it's a pass game. I mean, and that's what makes Vanderbilt's offense so good, is that these opposing defenses have so many weapons to account for when they do their game plans throughout the weeks. Is not only do you have MK Young, you have Eli Stowers to watch out for. You got Trey Richardson, Junior Sherrill, right, and of course Pavia in both the running and the pass game. So like the possibilities are seemingly endless with Vanderbilt's offense, and which is why they're so potent and why they're so able to score so many points week in, week out. And next week is I think another good opportunity for the offense to against a potentially vulnerable Tennessee defense. I think to do that once again. We'll see, but yeah, I mean, you just can't say enough about the offense and what they have been able to do and to provide all year.
Dylan, I'm going to shift you off of that real quick, and I think you'll enjoy why. They've had the same 5 guys on the O-line all year. Mm-hmm. They've stayed unbelievably healthy up there. That's a credit to Steiner, and you wrote about that earlier in the week, but also they're just so much more talented up front, and I think a lot of Pavia's performance and a lot of the reason he got the roll call tonight has to be attributed to the offensive line as well. They're just so much better, and I think they haven't got enough credit for this. They got a lot of credit in the offseason for being better. We're starting to see Clark's vision kind of vitalized in that way too.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Joey, because it is huge.
See, sometimes I do good pivots.
Yeah, that was a good pivot because, and the truth is, I was just talking a minute ago about how Diego's developed as this pocket passer. Like, you can only do that if you have an offensive line that can hold the pocket, and I think it's really important to stress that, especially. We've talked about Jordan White a lot. I do believe he's one of the best centers in the country. It's a really hard position to play. You know what else is really hard to play? Tackle.
Yes,
Tackle's a really hard position to play. We talked about Isaiah Glass a good amount in the beginning of the season in terms of he's getting flagged too much. We haven't said his name in I think 6 weeks.
He's done a lot better.
Which is and that is not an easy position to play in the SEC. And same with Bryce Henderson on the other side. And it's so easy by these top edge rushers to just get beat around the edge and not give your quarterback a chance. And again, Diego being mobile in the pocket helps with that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, can't stress enough how important that has been to the success. And the receivers as well, like you mentioned, guys. I mean, I believe Trey Richardson and Junior Sherrill are both up above 600 yards on the season now. I know Trey Richardson is. I think Sherrill's right behind him, or he was ahead of him heading into the game.
Right.
But this is an offense that has established itself as one of the best, and when I say one of the best, I mean very much up there, top 3 in the country. And obviously, a lot of that is Pavia, but it's become the point where you know what you're getting with this offense, and it's as long as the game script is there, and they had the little blemish against Missouri, but this is an offense that's putting up 40 points week in and week out against a Kentucky defense that held Auburn to 3 points 3 weeks ago.
Held Florida to 7.
Held Florida to 7 points against an Auburn defense that held Kentucky to 10 points, and
Texas only scored 16 on Kentucky too.
Yeah, exactly. So they're doing it against good defenses, and no matter how good your quarterback is, like you said, Joey, no matter how good your quarterback is, it's a full unit effort, and obviously Tim Beck deserves a ton of credit for that too. But yeah, the offensive domination continues from the Commodores, guys.
If Diego Pavia has to fight in this game late, he doesn't get his moment with the curtain call. Mm-hmm. And I think you've got to give Vanderbilt's credit Vanderbilt's defense a lot of credit for what it did. Clark Lee said they returned to form tonight. If you're a casual fan, that translates to all the way back, which I think we're going to use Clark Lee's language as journalists here, but if you guys want to use all the way back, go ahead. You feel a different swagger from them than you did before the bye week. You hear a little bit about how they're banged up in the front 7 before the bye week, and I'm like, man, everybody's banged up in the front 7. Mm-hmm. You see a big difference today, and Kentucky's not some of the teams that they've played in the past. It doesn't have as much explosiveness on the perimeter, things along those lines. Still put up 38 points against Florida. I don't think it's a terrible offense. I think their quarterback play is pretty solid, actually. Mm-hmm. Vanderbilt just made them look like Auburn did for most of the season.
Right.
Even like Auburn made Kentucky look, and Auburn has a tremendous defense. Graham, we'll pivot to that. Yeah. Just an unbelievable showing from their defense, and if you want to say they're all the way back, I think I'd wait till the Tennessee game to say that, but they certainly look more like the defense that you saw South Carolina and Virginia Tech than the one that all of us have seen the last couple of weeks in person.
Yeah, and that was the thing they were talking about after the Auburn game is we're like, hey, we're a little bit concerned, right, concerning what the defensive performance was, but we're not panicking.
One thing too, this got bad enough where Clarkley was asked about whether he would take over play calling duties
Yes,
again. And
right.
then you see today,
exactly.
much better.
Exactly, and and they talked about the biggest thing that they needed to improve on over these past couple weeks from Auburn up to now was communication, and boy, it looked much improved on the field today. I mean, you had turnovers being created by the defense. Colby Taylor, the senior, getting his interception on senior day. You had Martell Height getting an interception or two. Like this defense,
6'7".
yeah. So, oh my God, 6'7". Martell Height made a 6'7" joke when he was asked about how tall Diego Pavia plays.
Do it, Dylan.
Dylan, just do it.
I don't know if I have that in me, Graham.
Okay, well,
That might be you. I mean, you're 6'7" chair of Vandy on SI.
I don't know. But I also want to say that the thermostat was also 67 degrees.
Graham was throwing a fit in the press conference room when he saw it was 6'7" on the thermostat.
Which is, by the way, a very normal temperature to keep a room. So you would find that in a lot of rooms.
Well,
whatever brings Graham happiness.
Right.
Hey, it's fitting, But
I wonder if Clark put in a request so that Graham
maybe he did. Maybe it was all planned out between. It was a
Talking about 6'7".
Anyways, back to football. Look, the Vanderbilt defense was back to form, sort of like how they looked, against South Carolina and Virginia Tech, like you said, and it's just perfect. Just really the perfect performance offensively, defensively. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better performance. I think just all around, just dominance, really.
Yeah, Graham. Out of all the things you take away from today, senior day, Pavia, the biggest thing I think you have to take away is the defensive performance, because this was the question mark with this team at this point in the season. There was, I'll tell you, I was very, very skeptical about this defense's ability to, have any success down the stretch after seeing them get shredded for 34 points against Texas, 38 points last weekend against an Auburn offense that had been pretty bad prior to that. And they came out and they made some adjustments, guys. And, I had put out an article about this, but they seem to have figured out their cornerback situation. I think at the beginning of the year it was Martell Height is our guy, Colby Taylor's our guy, we're going to throw him in there. They're our starters, and they're going to play most of the game. And, that's not the case anymore. Height obviously had a big game today. In the past month or so, he struggled, especially, against those top receivers making plays on the ball. And, today it was Mark Davis who got the start alongside Colby Taylor. And it was a pretty, we'll look at the snap counts, but it was a pretty even rotation between Mark Davis, Colby Taylor, Martell Height, and Jordan Matthews, who's also played really well. And, it goes along with the theme that I put out earlier this week with these, rotational pieces keeping guys fresh. And by having this pretty much even split, it's usually not something I love, because it's you want to play your best players as much as you can. But these guys seem to bring enough kind of uniqueness to the game, and they work really well together. And Martell spoke about it, how much they've grown and how much they trust each other. And I think you saw today, guys, that the secondary, the pass rush was better, the linebackers were better. It was the secondary for me that really stood out as working together. Like you said, Graham, they played a lot of zone coverage. The zone coverage did not work at all against Auburn, and the communication was much, much better this week. And that's ultimately the key going forward. I think Kentucky is a good offense. You're going to see next week, Joey Aguilar will sling the ball around. As we're recording this, Tennessee's up several scores on
28-0 at least
on Florida early, so they have the offense to do it. It's a question of who can step up in that secondary. And today was a really good step in that direction. And if Vanderbilt wants to, go to the places they want to go at this point late in the season, the offense is, we pretty much know what the offense is going to do at this point. It's a question of if the defense is going to play like it did today, where it let up basically 3 points before garbage time, or if it's going to play like it did against Auburn and Texas, guys.
Interesting. Clarkley mentioned it wasn't the players ever. He always thought they had the players to be a really good defensive team. He said it was the organization. And I think you're starting to see that be a little bit better out of the bye. Here's the real test, like Dylan said, though. Again, we've said this all year, and it's weird to say after, 11 games at this point. I don't really know what they have on defense. I don't know if they're going to go and hold Tennessee to 15 points, or they're going to go at 40 points next week. It's hard to tell what they've had. They've been so up and down. But I think tonight, more than good enough, a really encouraging sign. And I wrote it kind of like you said, Dylan. I think the biggest takeaway from the Clarkley presser was him saying that they've returned to form a little bit. I think that's maybe the most encouraging thing if you're a Vanderbilt fan. And then overall in the pressers, the most encouraging thing as a Vanderbilt fan would be the Jared Curtis thing from Pavia. I think it seems to be trending that way, and focused on that in a non-post game show. But we had to bring that up. Again,
Monday we could talk.
Monday we'll talk. For now, though, Vanderbilt 9 wins in a regular season for the first time since 1915. Undefeated at home for the first time since 1982. Standing in the end zone after the game, Bradley Mann, Lida Zunk, some of their reserve defensive linemen were standing there just kind of staring at the scoreboard and all. I think it still says it back there.
Undefeated at home.
Undefeated at home. A golden era for Vanderbilt football here. And from Diego Pavia Field at FirstBank Stadium.
Wow.
I'm Joey Dwyer. He's Grant Bacco. He's Dylan Tovitz. We'll see you again soon from Knoxville. Thank you guys for watching. God bless. We'll talk soon.